Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time we're going deep on the book Brave, Not Perfect by Reshma Saujani.
Oh, yeah, the founder of Girls Who Code.
Exactly. So we've got some excerpts from the book itself, and then we paired those up with some research and articles that really add a lot more to this conversation about how girls are raised, the myth of perfection, and the true meaning of bravery.
And it's so relevant, like what we see in the world.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to see how much it all connects.
Definitely. And Saujani doesn't just talk theory here.
Yeah.
She actually opens up with a very personal story about her congressional run
Oh, yeah.
that she lost. And she lost by a lot, like 81 to 19%.
Wow.
But she talks about that failure as a turning point.
Oh, interesting.
And it sparked everything that followed, Girls Who Code and everything. And it's almost like she's saying, look, I've messed up spectacularly, and here's what I learned.
Right.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's jump into this pressure to be perfect idea. So Johnny argues that we reward girls for being perfect from when they're really little, while boys are encouraged to be brave.
Yeah,
And she has some pretty striking examples to back this up.
I know.
Like, there's this one study where researchers gave girls terrible lemonade.
Really?
Like, literally, they put salt in it instead of sugar.
Oh my gosh.
And you know what?
They,
The girls drank it
no way.
without a single complaint. They didn't want to hurt the researchers' feelings.
That's wild, isn't it? And think about how often you see the opposite play out.
Totally.
With parents urging their sons to jump into the deep end of the pool, but then their daughters are hesitant and get all this extra caution and coddling, It's like we're subconsciously telling girls, stay safe, stay perfect, but don't you worry about being brave.
It makes you wonder if that early conditioning is why we see that statistic about women in job applications.
Oh, yeah.
You know the one where men apply if they meet like 60% of the qualifications?
Right, right.
But women wait until they meet like all of them.
All of them. Yeah, it's like we're terrified to put ourselves out there unless we're absolutely flawless.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a connection there, and this fear of failure and of not being perfect really starts to impact women in their careers and personal lives too.
Yeah,
Because it holds them back from taking risks, speaking up, asking for what they deserve.
for sure.
So Johnny actually calls this perfectionism 3.0 when the perfect girl grows up,
Oh, I like that.
which I think really captures what's going on here.
Yeah, so we've got this pattern of rewarding perfection in girls and bravery in boys.
Right.
But what happens when those perfect girls grow up? What does that look like in adulthood?
Well, unfortunately, the pressure just keeps building.
Yeah.
Women are constantly bombarded with messages about being the perfect professional, the perfect wife, the perfect mother,
Oh, yeah.
all while somehow maintaining this flawless social media presence.
It's a lot.
It's exhausting and honestly unattainable.
It really is. And, Saujani doesn't shy away from highlighting how much this impacts women's well-being.
No, she doesn't.
It affects their mental health, their relationships, their self-esteem. And it's like we're chasing this myth that perfection will lead to happiness,
Right.
but it really creates burnout and a feeling of being stuck.
Exactly. She gives some powerful examples of this, like women obsessing over their weight and appearance.
Yeah.
Feeling pressured to have the perfect online persona.
Right.
And constantly trying to meet everyone else's expectations.
It's a recipe for dissatisfaction.
It really is.
So if perfection isn't the answer,
Right.
what is? What's the alternative?
That's where Saujani brings in the idea of redefining bravery.
Okay.
And it's not about being fearless. It's about acting, even though you're afraid.
Okay.
And she highlights how important it is to have female role models who embody bravery, but in different ways.
Right. Not just this stereotypical superhero.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about women who are brave in everyday life.
I love the example she gives, like walking away from a toxic job, speaking up against injustice,
Yes.
setting boundaries.
These are all acts of courage that so many women struggle with.
They really are. It's about those small but powerful choices that help us build confidence and step outside our comfort zones.
Exactly. And Saujani doesn't just leave us with this idea of bravery.
Yeah.
She actually gives us some really concrete strategies for building a bravery mindset.
Oh, that's great.
One of my favorites is the power of yet.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I'm not good at this,
Right?
you say, I'm not good at this yet.
Oh, I like that.
It's subtle, but it opens up the possibility for growth and learning.
It's like that whole growth mindset thing.
Exactly. Instead of seeing our abilities as fixed,
Right.
We embrace challenges and see failure as a chance to learn.
Yeah, it takes the fear out of trying new things.
Yeah, totally. And another strategy she talks about is identifying and facing our ledge.
Oh, ledge.
Yeah, that one thing we're most afraid of doing.
Okay,
The thing that would have the biggest impact on our lives if we could just get over the fear.
I see.
And it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, it might be speaking up at work.
Hmm.
For others, it might be ending a relationship or starting a business.
Right.
But the first step is admitting that fear and asking, what's the worst that could happen?
I think that's where the real magic happens, when we start to question those fears and realize that the worst case scenario often isn't as bad as we think it is.
Yeah, sometimes the fear of failing is way worse than actually failing.
Definitely.
And once we start to challenge those fears, we can start taking action. And Saujani talks about the importance of getting caught trying.
Getting caught trying.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about getting comfortable with imperfection, starting before we feel ready,
Right.
and even trying things we know we might not be good at least not yet.
So it's more about the process of learning and growing than
Yes.
about focusing on the outcome.
Exactly.
You know, like proving to ourselves that the world doesn't end when we make mistakes.
Exactly. Mistakes can be our best teachers.
That's a really good point. And Saujani even suggests deliberately doing things imperfectly.
Right. Yeah, like leaving the house without makeup,
Oh?
sending an email with a typo, showing up a few minutes late without over-apologizing.
Interesting.
It's all about breaking free from needing to be flawless
Right.
and realizing that it's okay to be human.
That makes sense. And, you know, this reminds me of something else Saujani talks about,
Yeah.
taking on a physical challenge.
Okay.
She thinks that pushing our physical limits can really change our bravery mindset.
Oh, wow. How so?
Well, there's something about tackling a physical challenge that builds resilience and confidence.
I can see that.
You know, whether it's running a marathon, climbing a mountain, or learning to surf, it teaches us to push through discomfort, overcome obstacles, and celebrate our achievements.
It's like we're proving to ourselves that we can do hard things,
Yes.
even if we don't do them perfectly.
Exactly. And that sense of accomplishment can spill over into other areas of our lives.
For sure, it reinforces that we're capable of more than we think.
Absolutely. And speaking of challenging ourselves, let's talk about the need to please. It's a big one for so many women.
It is.
And so Johnny addresses it head on with her advice to nix the need to please.
I like that.
It's about breaking free from that need to be liked by everyone, setting boundaries and learning to say no.
I think that's one of the hardest things for women to do.
I know, right?
We're so conditioned to be helpful and accommodating, to put other people's needs before our own.
It's true. And so Johnny acknowledges that it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
But she stresses that it's so important to recognize that saying yes to everyone else
Right.
often means saying no to ourselves
Right.
and to our own needs.
It's about prioritizing our well-being and honoring our own time and energy.
Exactly. And she doesn't just tell us to say no. She actually gives practical tips for how to do it gracefully, but firmly.
Okay.
No more over-apologizing or making excuses.
Yeah.
Just a simple no thank you.
It's about recognizing that our needs and priorities are just as valid as everyone else's.
Yes,
And believing that we have the right to set boundaries.
for sure. And you know what else is empowering?
What's that?
So Johnny encourages us to make the ask,
Make the ask, okay.
to advocate for ourselves, whether it's asking for a raise,
Right.
requesting more flexibility at work, or even just asking for help when we need it.
Yes. It's about recognizing our worth and value.
Exactly.
Believing that our needs are important and we deserve to have them met.
And sometimes making the ask means facing rejection.
That's true.
But even rejection can be a learning experience.
It can be. Yeah.
It's about thinking of rejection as information,
Okay.
not a reflection of our worth.
Yeah.
It's about learning to separate our self-esteem from what other people think.
That makes sense. And that leads us to one of the most powerful pieces of advice in the book, Trust Yourself.
Oh, yes.
It's about tuning out the noise of other people's expectations and really learning to listen to our own inner voice.
It's about developing that unshakable belief in our own instincts and judgment,
Right.
recognizing that we already have the wisdom and the strength to make the best choices for ourselves.
And sometimes trusting ourselves means going against the grain, challenging the status quo, and speaking up even when it's uncomfortable.
That's where true bravery comes in, you know,
Yeah.
having the courage to stand up for what we believe in,
Right?
even when it means facing opposition or disapproval.
So Johnny calls it articulating our agency.
Oh, that's good.
It's about recognizing that we have the right to say no,
Yeah.
To set boundaries and to speak up when something feels wrong.
It's about reclaiming our power and refusing to be silenced.
And recognizing that we have a voice and that we can use it to make a difference.
For sure, and that brings us to a really important topic.
Okay.
Failure.
Ah, yes. Because no matter how brave we are, things don't always go according to plan.
Exactly, and that's where Saujani's step-by-step guide to surviving a big, fat failure comes in.
Okay.
She highlights how important it is to let ourselves feel the emotions, process the experience, and learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
She even tells us to have a pity party.
A pity party.
Yeah. Give yourself a set amount of time to wallow. Okay.
Then pick yourself up and move on.
It's about acknowledging that failure is a part of life,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to define us.
Right. It's about developing the resilience to bounce back and keep going. And learn to see failure not as like a personal defeat, but as a
Yeah.
chance to grow, you know?
And I love how she has this whole review, reassess, realign
Ooh.
strategy for dissecting those failures.
Oh, yeah.
It's about taking a step back, analyzing what happened, and figuring out what worked, what didn't,
Right.
what we can learn from it.
So much better than just beating ourselves up.
Way better. Yeah. And it's about asking ourselves those tough questions like, what could I have done differently?
Yeah.
What will I do differently next time?
Mm.
What can I actually salvage from this experience?
It really shifts the focus from blame to responsibility.
It does. And that sense of agency is so important.
It is.
It reminds us that we have the power to shape our own experiences even when things don't go as planned.
Absolutely. And, you know, even in the middle of a failure, there's always stuff to be grateful for. Oh, that's a good point.
So Johnny reminds us about the importance of gratitude even when it feels hard.
Yeah.
Maybe it's our health, our loved ones, or resilience, or even just the lessons we learned.
Gratitude is such a powerful tool.
It is.
It helps us shift our perspective, focus on the positive, and find those silver linings, even when things are tough.
Totally. It's about recognizing that every experience, even the hard ones, can teach us something valuable.
Yeah, and that leads us to one of the most heartwarming and empowering themes in the book, Play for Team Brave.
Oh, I love that one.
It's this idea that we don't have to go through any of this alone.
Right.
There's a whole community of women out there who are also trying to be brave, overcome their fears,
Yeah.
and create more fulfilling lives.
It's about building that sense of sisterhood, lifting each other up, and celebrating each other's successes.
I think we've all experienced that competitive dynamic between women,
Mm-hmm.
which can be so damaging.
It can.
And Saujani encourages us to break down those walls and create a culture of support and collaboration.
It's about shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
Right, where we believe there's enough success to go around.
Exactly. And we celebrate each other's wins and recognize that there's room for everyone to shine.
And she emphasizes the importance of vulnerability.
Oh, yeah.
When we're willing to share our struggles, our imperfections, our failures,
Mm-hmm.
it creates such a powerful connection.
It does. It reminds us that we're all human,
Right.
that we're all in this together.
It creates a safe space for others to open up and share their own experiences.
Yeah, it builds trust and community.
And one of the simplest but most effective ways to play for Team Brave is to just brag about each other.
I love that.
You know, shout out your friend's promotion on social media.
Yes.
Send a congratulatory email when a colleague achieves a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate those wins, big and small.
It's contagious, that energy.
It really is.
Mhm.
And when we see other women being brave, it inspires us to be brave too.
For sure.
It's like a ripple effect of courage that spreads throughout our communities.
So true. So we've covered a lot, from the pressure to be perfect to redefining bravery to surviving failure and building a supportive community.
We have.
But what does it all really mean for our listeners?
I think Saujani's book gives us an amazing toolkit for living more authentically and courageously.
It does.
You know, it encourages us to embrace imperfection, challenge our fears, and step outside of our comfort zones.
It's about recognizing that we all have the potential for bravery within us.
It's not about becoming fearless overnight, right?
Oh.
It's about those small steps, building those bravery muscles, and celebrating every win along the way.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And you know what? Brave, Not Perfect isn't just a book.
It's not.
It's a call to action.
Okay.
It's about challenging those limiting beliefs that hold us back and creating a world where women are empowered to be their authentic, brave selves.
I love that. So before we wrap up,
Yeah.
we wanted to give our listeners something concrete to take away from this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've distilled all of Saujani's wisdom and insights into a 10-point summary of the key takeaways from Brave, Not Perfect.
A 10-point summary. Oh, that's great. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Number 1, girls are socialized to be perfect, while boys are encouraged to be brave. And this often leads to women holding themselves back in all areas of life.
Number two, this conditioning starts early and is reinforced through parenting education and the media we consume. It's everywhere.
Number three, perfectionism takes a toll on women's well-being, impacting our mental and physical health, our relationships, and our overall sense of self.
Number four, the myth that perfection equals happiness is just that a myth chasing perfection actually prevents us from experiencing true fulfillment.
Number five, bravery is not the absence of fear. It's about acting in the face of fear, taking those small steps outside of our comfort zones and celebrating our courage.
Number six, building a bravery mindset is a practice. It involves adopting a growth mindset, prioritizing self-care, and facing our fears head-on. Remember the power of yet.
Number seven, get caught trying. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, it's essential. Embrace imperfection, learn from your missteps, and keep moving forward.
Number eight, nix the need to please learn to say no, set boundaries, and advocate for yourself. Your needs and priorities are just as important as everyone else's.
Number nine, support other women. Celebrate their successes, offer encouragement during setbacks, and create a powerful sisterhood of strength.
And finally, number 10, failure is inevitable, but it doesn't have to define us. With the right mindset and a supportive community, we can bounce back stronger and braver than ever before.
So there you have it, 10 takeaways to inspire you on your journey to bravery. We hope this deep dive into Brave, Not Perfect has left you feeling empowered, inspired, and ready to embrace your own unique brand of courage. Wow, it's amazing how much there is to unpack from just one book.
I know, right? Saujani's message is so powerful and timely.
It really is, and you know what I find so inspiring?
What's that?
It's not about being perfect, it's about being brave.
Right.
About showing up authentically and embracing the journey.
Exactly, giving ourselves permission to be perfectly imperfect.
I like that.
And celebrating the unique strengths and perspectives we each bring.
That's what makes this book so empowering, you know?
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
We don't have to be fearless.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to be willing to take that first step,
Yeah.
to embrace the unknown and to trust that we've got the strength to handle whatever challenges come up.
It's about shifting our focus,
Yeah.
from the outcome to the process,
Okay.
from achieving perfection to embracing growth,
I see.
and from pleasing others to honoring our own needs and values.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Brave, Not Perfect, we want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
How would your life change if you started making decisions based on bravery instead of perfection?
That's a good one.
What dreams or goals would you finally go after if you weren't afraid of failing?
Yeah.
What would it look like to embrace your own perfectly imperfect self
Right.
and step into your full potential?
It's a journey worth taking. And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
That's so true.
There's a whole community of brave women out there ready to support you, cheer you on,
Yes.
and celebrate your wins.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
We hope you found it insightful, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit life-changing.
We'll see you next time.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep being brave.